today I'm rocking like a top bun with a little part of my hair because I went for a walk and my hair got really frizzy. And when I did it, I thought it looked really cute. And now I look like a sumo wrestler.
Now that you say that, I'm seeing it, but when you got on earlier, I thought it looked adorable, but now I can't get that vision out of my head. You do look like a sumo wrestler.
I do. Get ready. Let's get ready to rumble. How are you?
I'm good. We're starting a brand new week. I'm trying to go into it with a good vibe because I think anyone going into a good week with good vibes, hopefully the good things will happen. Because if you come in negative, same with divorce, you're kind of inevitably setting yourself up for failure. So I'm looking forward to a good week. How about you?
That sounds like some like the secret shit. That sounds like man, like what was that stuff about? Remember that book, The Secret, that everybody was real hyper about, like 10 years ago, like manifesting things and put it out there, and it shall be
Yeah.
a good week. Let's put it out into the universe. I always feel like instead of just thinking about, and I know people say, right, oh, your thoughts dictate everything. But I'm a little bit backwards on that. I feel like you have to do something good in
Mhm.
order for you then to have the positive thought, because I don't naturally have positive thoughts. I mean, I'm
So
Jewish. We're not wired that way.
no, you're always negative.
So
Your people are wired to be negative, but I like that because what do they call it in the Jewish? Is it a mikvah? Is that right? Or a
a mish
mishpah? What's
a,
like
a mikvah is the bath
the
that
bath? No, no, no.
they
There's
then
some
themselves. A mitzvah is a
a
good.
exactly. So okay, so I was on the right track. So we're talking about mitzvahs here. But if you do something nice for somebody else, I mean, I always call it good karma, good juju, whatever. It's kind of shocking if you're in a bad place, if you do something nice for some, just like a smile that you receive in return could be enough to be like, "Oh my gosh, that was pretty awesome." Right? That's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, or even if it's not, I mean, yeah, obviously doing something good for someone else, but like if you want to have a good week and have positive energy, then do something so that you will. Like, we're huge proponents of taking walks on this show, right? So if you're waking up on a Monday and you're like, oh God, this week, I would say like the first thing you should go do is go move your body. Like,
Mm.
go take a walk, go do something. You can't just sit there and say to yourself, "Okay, I'm having all these bad feelings, but I gotta change it now and have good feelings."
Well, yeah, and one thing I think about too is what I try to do. It's kind of ridiculous, but you know how women can be kind of catty to other women, and it's just for nonsensical purposes because I'm a big proponent of lifting other people up, not just women, but everyone. One
Mhm.
little thing that I do besides walking around and moving my body is if I pass someone on the street that like looks really nice or, has something put together, I'm like, "Hey, great outfit. Like you look really nice." Or something like that. It's something so stupid, but you will get so much out of the response that you receive from that person.
What would you do if you saw somebody wearing, like, a terrible outfit? Would you lie?
I would run really fast past them so I didn't have to look at it anymore.
And that gets your heartbeat rate up, and that'll give you cardio, and you'll release positive endorphins.
Exactly. I agree with you. If
Yeah.
I saw your top knot coming at me, I might run.
But you can't run from a sumo wrestler, I'll take you down. Take you down. Oh man, this is I gotta take this out. I can't even look at it anymore. Okay, the top knot. For those of you who are watching this on YouTube, you're luck you're in for a real treat, 'cause you're gonna see this top knot coming out. And now I'm gonna look like Shirley Temple with these crazy oh no.
Mhm.
Oh no. For those of you
Wow.
who watch these on YouTube, you're lucky right now, but you're
We're
really missing.
sorry for it.
Okay. So you know what? It's funny. We're talking about best kept secrets today. One of the best, it's not even a secret, but do you remember when we were younger and we used to sleep in pin curls to curl our hair overnight? Remember that, guys? If you're a girl and you would wrap your hair around like your finger and then stick bobby pins in it, right? That's a little best kept secret. It still works apparently because my sumo wrestler bun has now turned into adorable curls at the top of my head. Enough about it. Let's
All
just
right, so let's talk about best kept secrets that do not involve your curls on the top of your head. Okay. So this weekend, I want to tell you a story because it kind of goes right into what we're talking about. So it was Sunday of the weekend. I was at my children's sporting events and I got kind of an urgent message from a friend who I know who is going through a divorce. He is not using me because I usually don't take close friends. I think it's a little too close for comfort, but he's using somebody who's reputable. And he was very frantic. He wanted to speak with me, which I always think is a little dangerous in general as a divorce lawyer because we're not involved. If you're not involved directly in the case, it's pretty hard to see what's going on, and it's pretty hard to understand the whole exact case without having a full meeting or a few meetings to really dive into it. But anyway, I could tell he was struggling, so I said, "Of course, let's talk." And he called me, and some background on this gentleman. He's a business owner. He is super smart, very analytical. But this divorce is paralyzing him. And, if you're out there listening and you're feeling the same way, we feel you. And the conversation was related to the fact that he couldn't quite wrap his head around strategy of his divorce. And he was doing things. I said, "What are you doing right now?" And he said, "Well, we got these requests for documents from my ex, and I'm putting together all the responses." And he's like, "And one of the questions is asking for like, a million years back and all these minutia details." And I said, "Hold on a second. Let me ask you something. Have you met with your attorney or talked to your attorney about these requests?" "Well, no." And I said, "Then why are you compiling all of these responses? You have no strategy. This is not you doing your own lawyer work. You need to take a step back. You need to understand that you have a professional on your side. And the reason you're stressed is because you're not speaking to your lawyer enough about what the strategy is, and you're just out there doing your own legal work." And so we kinda had to come to Jesus meeting, for lack of a better term, because I think some people just say, "Okay, well, this was sent to me and I have to fill it out, and so I'm gonna spend all day Sunday, going through all this paperwork." And that's nonsense a lot of the time, because a lot of the time there could be objections to the discovery, and we could save you a lot of time. What I said to him and where I left it is, "Listen, I know you're a businessman. I know you think lawyers cost a lot of money, and we do. But when you don't call your lawyer enough or communicate with your lawyer enough, you're going to cost yourself more money. It's cheaper to get on the phone, get a strategy together, and not have yourself ruining every weekend with your head spinning and you running around like in a rat race." So it kind of goes exactly with what we're talking about today. And I know I wanted to share this story with you, Andrew. You haven't heard this story yet, but when we were talking about what we're actually the topic of today's podcast, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this goes right into kind of what we're saying."
I have a thought. I want to take a stab at what I think somebody in your friend's position should do. Okay. Because I think what this first best kept secret is, it's a few things wrapped into one. Number one, it's that you don't have to respond yourself to every single request you get from your soon to be ex. That you're going to have a lot of things thrown your way. And they could say things like, "I need a response by end of day today." If anything seems, if it's like, you know, something that's like, "Do you have our daughter's blue jacket?" That's something you can probably respond to by the end of the day today. But if this is like a major decision, right? And something where the stakes are high, number one, you don't have to do something just because, they want it. You don't ignore them just to ignore them. But if this is a big decision, you got to talk to your attorney. And number two, by not involving your attorney and taking on all of these things because you think you're problem solving, you think that you're saving money, you're actually going to spend a lot more money. So, what I think you do is we've talked about this at the very end of last season and we've reiterated it in this season. This idea that actually calling your attorney could be more cost effective than sending an email. And
Mm,
that's an unpopular opinion because a lot of people think, well, getting on the phone with this person is going to cost me a ton of money. Well, we've already debunked that. We've explained it to you many times that you're going to be able to get a lot more done with the caveat of call them with notes. right as if you're sending them an email. And this is what I would do. I would have bullet points written down of everything that I want to cover with this attorney, knowing that this is precious billable hours on the phone. So bada bing, bada boom, bada bum, bada bum. This is what I need to know. And you have to have an objective. Your objective is to have a strategy, right?
Absolutely, Andrea, you're, like, sounding like me now. Yes, you're the winner, winner, chicken dinner over there. So, what I left him with was, okay, few things that you need to convey to your lawyer. 1, I need you this was, like, a lot of things he was throwing at me. I said, "This is a sit-down meeting, first of all. This is more than a phone call, it's a sit-down meeting. Go in and talk to her."
Okay, wait,
What I
tell
Oh,
me what makes it, because that's an interesting point. What makes it a sit down face to face as opposed to a phone call?
I think when you're feeling like you don't have a plan, you don't have a strategy, and you also are almost losing a little bit of trust in your lawyer, it could be the lack of the face-to-face strategizing, and so give them a time to sit down with them and then evaluate how you feel after that.
I think that is such an important thing. And I think that makes me think that we should do another episode at some point, Morgan, where we can play a game where it's like email, phone call, face to face.
I
You know,
love it. I love it.
I think that that would really help people. Okay, so I'm sorry for interrupting, but I think that that was an important part to distinguish of, okay, why a face to face now versus a phone call?
Yeah, so and I kinda left out parts of the story, so I'm gonna tell you what some background is, and then I'm gonna tell you what I told him. So, he had a bunch of issues. Number 1 is lots of children-related issues with the ex, high conflict, lots of kind of spamming emails back and forth, both trying to get each other in trouble, and I point blank said to him, I said, "What are your goals in your case? What are your goals?" And he kinda stopped, and he was kinda all over the map. So I said, "All right, here's the first thing you're gonna think about and fill out before your attorney meeting. What are your goals related to your children? I want 3 goals related to your children and the parenting time." The second thing I said, he said, "Well, I just don't know what's important. I think that my ex is lying. I think that my attorney doesn't know all the minutia or all the details. And if before I go pulling all these crazy text messages and emails that prove my point that she's a liar and all this stuff, I need to know if it matters." I said, "Here's what we're going to do. I get it. That is overwhelming. What I want you to do is make a bullet point sheet on the parenting issues where you need to know whether it matters or not, whether you go down that rabbit hole. So, what does it look like? A bullet point saying, my ex lied in these circumstances. Here are the pieces of evidence I have that can prove that lie. That's one bullet point. And you sit down with your lawyer and you say, does this matter for my goals? What does this look like? Should I go down the rabbit hole? Like he said, it would take him a few hours to try to go pull these text messages. I said, stop it. It's Sunday. You don't even know if this matters. So that's the bullet point sheet I'm saying to him to prepare for the attorney. Same thing with the financials. So he's got all these discovery requests. He's asking, me whether he should make these different investments. And I said, bullet point it. These are questions to sit down with. So in my mind, he would come into the meeting just based upon his case and where he was at with 3 documents: the goals sheet, the bullet points on the parenting issues and maybe the different evidence pieces that we could or could not prove, and then all the questions on the financials. That's where I left him, and he felt so much better after I told him to put down the paperwork and please go outside and take a walk.
Hey, I mean, number two best kept secret is when you are overwhelmed, move your body. Move your body. We talk about this all the time, but when you feel like you're about to explode, that is not the time to make a decision. That is the time to give yourself a break. And it doesn't have to be the rest of the day break. A break doesn't mean, cut out of work and go, hang out at the bar for the rest of the day getting sloshed. A break could literally just mean take 7 minutes and walk around the block, but you need your brain sometimes has to come back and like get back to like focusing, and you can't focus when you're so emotionally charged. One last thing that you said, you mentioned that he was starting to feel frustrated that his attorney didn't know all of the details. And I'm wondering, is that on him? Because was he judging his case and thinking, well, my attorney doesn't need to know this? And then on the other flip side, he's feeling frustrated that his attorney didn't know everything.
I think it's a little bit of both. He doesn't know what's important for his attorney to know. I'm sure that the attorney in the first few intake meetings for strategy, when clients kind of do vomit at the mouth and say, this is what's been happening. My ex is a liar. Here's some things that, proves that. The lawyers basically are the way our brains work is we are taking the pieces of information that matter to us and we're writing it down. The ones that we're like, "Oh, this probably doesn't matter," we're kind of putting it off to the side and we're letting the client talk. So, what I'm saying to him is, the reason you're feeling uncomfortable with your attorney likely is because you don't have enough face time with the attorney. You haven't had enough conversations to build that trust. Remember, it's like any relationship. An attorney-client relationship is like a friendship, like a dating relationship, whatever. The more you meet, the more you talk, the more you trust. And so, if you're trying to save dollars, which I completely understand, the fact of the matter is you're probably not going to be very trustworthy of your lawyer. And you're probably not going to feel very comfortable because you may not have that strategy and that white glove service that you need to get you through this horrible time.
So this brings me to another secret that I think that we should talk about for a minute here. Secret number 3. If things aren't working out with your attorney, you don't have to stay with this attorney. So let's say you have this face to face and you do everything we're telling you to do, right? And you walk away from that meeting and you're like, I don't think they get it. I'm not feeling good about this. What we are not recommending is that you immediately fire them. You don't, because again, that if you're upset, take a walk, calm yourself down before you decide to switch counsel. You have every right to pay for an hour of somebody else's time, another reputable attorney in your area, and run the situation by them to see if their strategy makes you feel more comfortable. Morgan, pros and cons in doing this, and let's kind of elaborate on why this is another best kept secret.
Yep. So pro is it's nice to, kind of get other ideas. Like lawyers are like doctors. We're creative, we're trying to find solutions, but every professional is different. Every professional will look at things a little bit differently. So you might gain some knowledge even if you're not ready to switch lawyers. If you want to talk to somebody else because you're worried about the strategy in your case, that's something that you absolutely could do and you might come out with some other ideas. That's a pro. The con, I have to be honest that, depending on the type of law firm or lawyer that you're interviewing, it's still a business. They're trying to get you in the door. So at the end of the day, you might meet somebody who may say, one, negative things about your lawyer, which I don't like at all. And I never do with other lawyers. I think it's bad business and it just feels awful. Two, they might try to sell you a bill of goods a little bit of what they can do. So you have to be kind of cognizant of that. What I would suggest to parse through everything to see if it's really the good fit for you, figure out if their strategy makes more sense than your current attorneys. And then ask them, what it looks like to execute that strategy and how many times they've done that. Something to know, you're going to feel if you feel really good with them, that might be an indicator to move on over. And maybe not if you're like, I'm not quite sure. I don't think anything could, do better than what I'm doing right now with my lawyer.
I think that, well, I know that there is a chance that you're going to become more confused if someone's just trying to sell you on services. But again, this would be another place where if you're looking to speak to another one reputable in your area, you can message us and we can help
Yep.
direct you to somebody who is good, because I did this while I was actually going through my divorce, and the attorney whom I consulted said, "You know what? I know that this totally sucks, but there's nothing different that your current counsel can do. It's just a total shit situation."
It's funny you say that because that's what I say a lot of times. I say, listen, number one, I can't do anything different for you. Could I maybe be a little bit better of a hand holder? Maybe tell you the strategy a little bit more? Maybe you're not getting what you need in that regard. Probably. Would it cost you potentially a lot more to switch over at this, plan and or part of the case? Yeah. And I usually say to clients in that situation, kind of similar to yours, Andrea, happy to take you. I think I can either fix it or I can't, but we can do better with communication. And if that's worth it to you financially, come on over. Happy to have you. But I try to never, in my practice, I don't try to sell goods that I can't deliver because I think it's really bad business.
I think the last thing that we should say about, this secret number three, that you don't have to stay with your attorney if it's not working. And that even if you don't jump ship, that you might feel better about your current counsel if you have a consult with someone else and hear somebody else say, there's really nothing different. It's just a shit situation. Wow, I totally forgot what I was going to say. It's really good when that, God, I'm such a good podcaster. Oh,
Ah, should we go into another secret?
oh my gosh. No, I think what I was gonna say is, oh, I get it. Came back. Thank God. It's the top bun. Swear, once that top bun's out, it was like holding all my knowledge. It depends on where you're at too in your
Mhm.
divorce process. If you're near the tail end, then it might not make sense to switch at that point if you're just like wrapping things up. You also have to look at, what do you have to gain here? Is it really worth it? I mean, does it really make sense for you to pay someone that has more of that white glove approach, which you are going to pay more for, if you are just at the end of like wrapping things up? Whereas if you're still not even halfway through, or maybe halfway through, and you know your personality and you know that you will sleep better at night and you will be a better person for having that level of attention, then that should help you make that decision.
I could not agree more. And please, all I will say to you is if your case is a complete mess and you feel it in your gut and you're just getting hammered every which way, whether it be in court or, wherever you're at in your case, but things are not going well, just know that you need to probably look and see what else is out there because a lot of times when people come to me and their case is so messed up, I say, yes, we will do what we can to fix it, but there may be at times that I can't fix it. So just know that.
So this next secret, secret number four, is for all my girlies and boys who haven't yet filed for divorce. So you are thinking about getting a divorce, and you're also thinking about maybe getting your boobs done, or maybe you want to buy a boat or a kitchen or something. Secret number four is you might want to consider making that large purchase before you file.
Mm, yeah, this is one where I kind of cringe because I see what you're saying. I see people do it all the time. And I hate to give this advice, but this is the reality because if you file for divorce and you really want those, that new kitchen, or you really want, a facelift or whatever you're looking for, the boat, highly unlikely that your
Why
spouse
do
is going to.
you say facelift?
What'd you say?
It's a, why do you look at me when you say facelift? I feel like you couldn't think of what to say, and then you look at it and you're like, oh, or facelift, like what Andrea needs.
There was no one else to look at. It's just me and you on this podcast. But anyway, so what I'm saying is, can you imagine that your spouse, after you file for divorce or they do, and you go to them and say, I just really want some new boobs for the next man I'm dating? Like, how is that going to go over? It's not. It's not. So, those are, I think, Andrew, when you're saying that, that is what you have to think about is if you start the divorce, is there a way that potentially you could pay for those types of items post, filing?
Totally.
That's a funny secret, Andrea. Thank you for that.
Hey, you know what? Get your facelifts here, folks. If only we could like cut to a sponsored ad right now that's like, and this next segment brought to you by Jones Plastic Surgery. Hey there, unhappy couple. Are you looking to get a facelift? Well, call now. Okay, let's stay in the realm of pre-divorce.
Okay.
Secret number five, start collecting evidence prior to filing. Now, I don't know what people mean by evidence. I always start thinking of like a criminal case, and I know that that's not what we're doing here. So, what does this mean? Collect evidence.
When I'm thinking about this, it makes me kind of, it's another cringeworthy secret. But I think what we mean by that is Look, if you let's just say you're going into potentially a custody fight, or the other parent you're saying is not like a fit parent, though the collection of evidence could be any text messages that they've sent you. You store it in a safe place. Any letters or, emails they've written you to show what's happening. Maybe there's videos. Whatever you have, you want to store it in a safe place, because I can tell you so many more times than not, there have been so many people erasing people's phones, iClouds, computers, etc. So where's a safe place? Give it to a friend, put it in a safety deposit box, put it somewhere outside of the house that your spouse has no ability to get at.
Could you also, I mean, we tell people this all the time to set up a new email account. Couldn't they also set up just a new email account and put it in like the Google Drive associated with that email account? Or you're saying that that's not so safe because somebody could still go in and erase stuff?
Yeah, so I've had it where the new email works beautifully, and I've also had it where somebody can still get in a little bit, and I don't know if it is iCloud related. iClouds really create a big problem for couples, and it's usually the family iCloud. If you're on a family iCloud system, just know that your spouse, there's so many people caught cheating with the family iCloud system, and what do I mean by that? You know, we could have a wife cheating on a husband and sending side messages and then deleting them or whatever, but guess what? Because of the family iCloud account, they're uploading onto your daughter's computer or your daughter's iPad, and then the other spouse sees it. I just had that happen the other day. So the family iCloud account is really tricky. I think if you want to be very, very careful, you would go and get a brand new iCloud account and disable your phone from the family one. And that would be the best way to do it, plus a new email.
I mean, and I mean, here's a bonus secret to everybody out there who's, engaging in extra marital, affairs. Just know, friends, that all of your communication, even if you think that it's private because it's been, my God, what my mic is drooping again, just like last time. What is happening? It's like every time I start to talk about sex, the mic is like, Jesus. Okay.
It is a heavy, large mic.
It is a quite a mouthful, that mic. Okay. What I was saying is that even these apps like WhatsApp, Telegram, these other things that you think it's like, oh, no one can see this because it's been deleted now. People can get into any of that stuff. It's not nothing is safe. You have to like don't make dumb decisions because
Mhm.
that will come back to bite you. And of course, if you reside in a state where it's a no fault state, yeah, like, no one can, like, accuse you of committing adultery that's not gonna do anything, but comments about things that you might have spent on this person can come up if, we're talking about dividing money and you spent marital funds on whatever, and it could just cause you a big headache because your spouse is not gonna wanna play ball with you if they know that you've been, stooping the neighbor.
Another Jewish term, shtup. Yeah, not to mention the fact that if you have an issue with parenting time or custody or things like that, and all these messages come out, even if you're in a no fault state and you're taking all this parenting or your time away from your kids to be with this significant other, it's not going to look very good. So I'm just saying be careful. There's a lot of people digging into other people's things lately, and it's becoming easier to do, especially with the facial recognition on your phone and all the other fun things that we deal with these days.
Totally. Okay. Secret, I think we're on number 6, but I might have lost track. So I hope it's 6. Going back to if you haven't filed yet, or not even, this is something that really anybody can take into account. But we're going to talk about typically everything can be divided, with the exception, and there's always going to be a caveat here, of what you entered the marriage with. So it's very important that you know what you came into the marriage with. So Morgan, let's elaborate on what does that mean because we're not talking about, oh, I entered the marriage with anxiety and herpes. We're talking about other things. I imagine, or do, or is the herpes divided? And you know, I-
Okay, so I have to clarify a few things. One, certain things, at least depending on what state you're in, can be divided or should be divided in a divorce, and certain things should not. And there are different carve outs, at least where I practice in Chicago, Illinois, about what is marital and what is non marital and what that looks like. So, what I'm saying to you here is If you came into marriage with a 401k or a retirement plan, or maybe you came into marriage with an investment account, you want to get that last statement before marriage. That's something you want to pull for your lawyer. And you want to talk to them about the fact that that might be what's called your non marital account. And there's different ways to commingle it and different problems that can happen. But at minimum, if you want to be really on top of things, grab that last statement or at least alert your attorney to what accounts might have your non marital assets in them.
Uh, huh. Let's talk about a possible red flag. Then, so let's talk about a secret. I think we're on number 7, which is look out for this, something that might be sus for all of you Gen Zers out there who are already getting divorced, which, wow, you're really ahead of your time. Changing a beneficiary of a life insurance policy while you are still technically married.
Yes, this is one that isn't fun. If you are married and about to go through a divorce, check the beneficiary designations on all your life insurance, your retirement accounts, or your spouses if you can get access to it. You don't want them changing you off as a beneficiary. And the court usually, if you're in a divorce process and they do that during the divorce, that's something that the court will sometimes come down on. They don't like it because God forbid your spouse dies in the middle of the divorce and then you're not the beneficiary of the life insurance, but maybe the girlfriend is or the boyfriend is. And then we have a big mess on our hands. And the insurance companies are pretty tough on that. They go with whatever the beneficiary is. So you want to be really careful about what designations were before the divorce and whether they are changed during the divorce. So keep in mind that.
If you notice that something's changed and you feel uncomfy about it, you do what?
Call your attorney right away. If you have the paperwork that shows the change, send it in.
Okay. Now, I think we're on secret number 8. Every time I say secret, I keep thinking about that dumb book. But I think this might be one of our final ones because I think this one is really interesting, which is there are tax implications when you go through a divorce because of all of the different, there's so much money stuff going on. But here's the secret. Not only do you need to be aware of this stuff, but by being as knowledgeable as you can be about possible tax implications, you can use this to your advantage because it can be a negotiation point. So let's explain this one.
Okay. So, first, it's good to know that usually any assets transferred in a divorce are not subject to tax because you're getting divorced. Okay. So, for instance, let me give you an example. If you divide an investment account in kind, which means your investment advisor tries to at least divide it up where everybody's taking the similar assets and similar taxable assets. So it's not like I'm going to take all the Apple stock because I know it's going to kill it and I'll leave you with like, Costco, which is going under, which is not true either. But regardless, you get where I'm going here. You can't do that. We make sure that that doesn't happen. But what can happen is number one, when you get divorced, the year that you're divorced, you're unable to file as a joint married couple. You have to file singly. So you're filing single, maybe head of household as, in your tax or your income taxes. And so what I'm seeing happening is a lot of people maybe they're married, they're filing jointly. Let's just say in 2023, they have a big refund due to them. And you can see it on your tax return. And then they elect the box that we'll just push that to next year's taxes. But then you get divorced and next year you can't file together. What happens with that huge refund? That's something that you want to talk to your accountant about, something that you want to flag for your lawyer if they haven't already caught it.
Morgan, how often do accountants and lawyers communicate directly? Do they ever communicate directly, or is it basically just you relaying information between the two?
It depends on how complex the estate is. If it's complex or we have a tax issue like this, I would love to talk to an accountant. Where it gets a little tricky is let's just say husband and wife are married, husband's made all the money, wife is now starting to kind of perk up, understand what's going on, sees that husband's kind of playing games, and the tax accountant has always dealt with the husband. And so now there's kind of a little bit of a conflict. In those situations, I would generally recommend that the wife probably seek alternate tax counsel to just give us a, kind of start from scratch, non-conflictual opinion. And then I can discuss with them different tax issues and go that route rather than trying to talk to their joint person who already feels like they're in a bind.
Does the joint accountant then communicate with, let's just say, the wife's new accountant? Do they ever communicate? Like if there's questions and things like that, or does that not really ever happen?
Not usually, at least in my experience. What we could do is we could subpoena the accountant, get all the old accountant's information and hand it over to the new one and say, "What do you think?" That's in really kind of detailed financial cases that we would even think about doing that because
Yeah.
it's a lot of work for the accountant.
Okay, let's go over these secrets. So we started off, we were talking about your friend whom you consulted over the weekend, who was, in a bind because he felt like there was this information that he had to go rush around and do. And you were like, no, 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 you don't need to do this. So the first secret that we uncovered here is that just because you get an email saying you got to do this, this, and this, and this, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to do that on your ex's timeline, that you can take a breath, take a beat, especially if the stakes are really high. We then went into, I'm forgetting exactly what number two was. It might have been my groundbreaking secret of taking a walk, but I don't remember if we dedicated a whole one to
You
that.
know what? I think that it was don't, make financial decisions when you're super emotional. That's why you were talking about taking that walk, right?
That's right. That's right. That's right. Number three was getting on a phone call, or as Morgan pointed out, sometimes a face to face meeting with your attorney is going to be much more valuable and much more cost effective than doing an email, which people think email is always going to be the best way to communicate. But sometimes, even if you're not able to get the tone of somebody's voice in
Oh,
an
I cannot agree more. It makes me crazy.
you could think my attorney is really talking down to me, right? Like they could say that they can type the phrase, Andrea, that's just not going to work. Right. And I could read that as like, Andrea, that's not going to work. And I'm like, fuck you. What do you mean it's not going to work? Where on the phone, they can say, Andrea, it's just not going to work. That is totally different. And
You
then
just
you're
had 3 tones. You just had 3 tones saying the same thing.
right. And then
Yeah.
imagine you're looking face to face and they say, Andrea, they write something down and then they look at you and say, it's just not going to work, which then shows you they're looking at their notes. They're trying to figure something out
Yes.
and then they're communicating, right? So you go from an email, which feels kind of curt, a little dismissive, and that you could feel like it's condescending, to hearing somebody's voice, to then hearing their voice and looking at them.
I could not agree more, and I think that we have gotten into this horrible place in our society and life, whether it's in divorce or working with a lawyer or professional, whatever, where it's just so easy to shoot off a text, shoot off an email, but you miss completely that personality. You miss the peer to peer interaction where you can read somebody and gain that trust that you need to get you through this divorce process. And it's really a failure on everybody's part. So I really preach to my team, get on the phone, invite people into the office. I don't care if you're on Zoom. Face to face, look at them in the eye. There's no reason that face to face should not be the gold standard, but if Zoom has to be it, that's fine too, but at least you're reading each other.
You know what? Can I just say, and I don't even know if we've ever talked about this before, but I have used someone, not on your necessary team, but at your firm for something recently. And the amount of times that we had phone calls unexpectedly when I was expecting an email and my phone rang and it was, hi, this is so and so from so and so. I want to, let's run this by you. I remember I kept looking at Steve saying, I don't know why I'm so blown away by this because this should be how it is. But it's like, God, I feel so much more comforted. Like, hey, I want to check in. I want to pregame before we go into court tomorrow. Like,
Yes.
here's what I think. And I'm like, I am so used to getting a two-sentence email, and
Or
so
or going into court having no idea what you're showing up to. I mean, Is there anything more terrifying than that?
I cannot tell you. I mean, and like, yeah, I know you pay for it, but you also pay for your mental health. You're going to pay therapy bills. You're going to be a disaster. And if you are a disaster, you will make major mistakes. Now, this dovetails into number four, secret number four. If you are not being treated this way and you've done the face to face meeting and you've done the phone calls with your attorney and you're like, I don't I just don't think he's that into me. like this is not working out. You can switch attorneys and not only is just switch an attorney, you can and you might wanna pay the money for an hour of somebody else's time to have their fresh set of eyes and ears on your case. It's not it's I think most of the time it's really going to behoove you. Okay. Where are we? Now we're at number 5.
Yes, we're at 5. I'm gonna keep you honest on your numbering.
Thank you. Okay, number 5. Oh, this was get your boobs done, girl. Get your boobs done, girl. Buy a boat, guy. What else would a guy do besides buying a boat? I don't want to put men in a boat category.
Golf membership.
There you go. I mean,
Mhm.
anything. Like, I mean, whatever it is that you want to do, you might want to do it before you file, just because.
This is coming from Andrea, not the divorce lawyer, because 'cause I'm sitting over here cringing, but regardless,
You know what? It didn't come I didn't do this. It's something that I found on the internet, and it is something that is done, and there are reasons why. My ex will tell you that I redecorated my office, which is true, but it's not like I did that because I knew I was gonna get divorced. I just needed to redecorate an office, but, potato. Okay, that was 5.
that was 5. The
Okay,
next number is 6 if you need to know that.
thank you. I feel like the count from Sesame Street. 1, 2, 3. Oh, yes, number 6. This is about having the documentation about what you entered the marriage with. And again, it doesn't mean your anxiety and your venereal disease. We're talking about, I don't even remember. What is this one about?
You were talking about any non-marital assets, and this would also include any gifts from, inheritance, gifts from parents, those kind of things. You want to have the documentation to actually make a case or at least try to make a case if you do have non-marital property.
Right. Secret number 7. Look out for the red flags, the sus activity, which would be one of the big ones is changing a beneficiary during the divorce process. And we're not talking because somebody wants to go dateline here and murder you while you get divorced. We're just talking about inheriting the money. Am I right?
You are right.
You're right. And finally, number 8, and this one might be one of the more complicated ones because it takes a little bit of work, but it could really be used to your advantage, which is know the tax implications that could arise during your divorce and realize that you can use this to your advantage. This could be a point of negotiation. You can even have that in your back pocket for something that you might be willing to give up or whatever, absorb if you guys are arguing over who gets the boat that, Chad got. Or maybe Chad wants Brenda's boobs, you know? That's it. Like, you know what I mean? And then they're like, okay, I'll give you that, but then I get all of this refund. So know
Yeah, I
that.
don't I think it's a little hard. I've never actually been able to divide up boobs yet, but, there's a first for everything.
Never, never say never. I would love to do an episode sometime on like divorce and plastics. Like, I wonder if anyone's just done like plastic surgery just for like revenge.
Oh, I've seen it in my office. I've seen it in my office.
What do they've had the surgery done in your office or
No, we are not providing that service in addition to divorce and prenups, no.
wait, wait,
Uh-uh.
wait. What do you mean?
Oh, they come in looking one way right before the divorce, and by the end or even post-divorce, they are completely redone, and they are living, their best life, their best new life.
I was accused of having work done during mine. I did not have it done. I had something done afterwards, but during, I think that it was just that I started sleeping again, or
You
like
look
I
so fresh.
right, but I remember it was like she's had work done, like she's spending all this money getting work done, and I'm like, "I'm not, but thank you."
Totally.
Oh my god. I was not expecting that compliment today. I'm gonna take that on my walk. Oh, you guys. You know, one of the reasons why we wanted to bring you this episode is because feeling like you have something that you can focus on that gives you that slightest little edge of empowerment can really, as we started this conversation, tee you up for a more positive week. If you feel like everything is bad and scary and overwhelming, you're going to behave like a caged animal, right? Who's like, I'm being attacked. I'm being attacked. Let me out of this cage. Rattle, 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 rattle. But if you've been given these tools and this knowledge and like, oh, I can go and speak to another attorney to get an opinion on this. Or, oh, I don't have to respond to this email by the end of the day today and then sign this here and blah, 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 blah. I can take a breath. I can take a walk. Oh, this tech stuff or all this money, I could actually use this to my advantage. Oh, maybe I should go get my left leg made longer than my right leg before I get divorced. I mean, I don't know, but I think that it's just important that you are armed with this knowledge because our goal is to help you feel a little bit calmer, a little bit better.
That's right, and we always say, divorce is a marathon, it is not a sprint. Every day is not going to be a good day. In fact, some days are gonna be awful, and some days are gonna be okay. And some days you're gonna be taking it hour by hour because you're barely hanging on, and Andrea's been there, I see it every day, and what we want you to know is you will be okay. You will get through this.
Absolutely. So if you've got to take out your top gun because you look like a sumo wrestler, girl, do it. You're going to be all right. Just take a breath, take a breath, take a walk. The pain that you feel right now, the frustration that you feel right now, I promise you, I promise you, I promise you, it will not be your forever. What your job is right now is to help yourself make the smartest decisions that you can. So get the help. Don't do this thing on your own. You can use all of these tools. Listen to this show. Buy the Divorce Crash course if you haven't gotten it yet. This was created to hold your hand to help you so that you don't make these major mistakes. Get your attorney on the phone. If you're feeling really uncomfortable with where things stand, get in their office. You can do this. I promise you, you can do this.
You can so do this. And if you need more community, join ours on Facebook. And if you like our podcast, give us a rating and review. It means the world to us. We do this for you. We're here for you. We have got you. We're going to walk through this divorce with you because we've been there and we live it every day ourselves. So remember this, we have got you and you have got this.